What's up, guys? Welcome back to this week's episode of The Breakdown. Today, I got Miss GinaMarie Stewart with me. What's up, GinaMarie?
Yay!
I'm going for the fist
Hey,
bump. There
fist
we go.
bump.
Fist bump. All right, GinaMarie is going to start us off by reading the passage, but I do want to say first, if you have not seen this week's message, maybe go back, check that out, or at least check it out after this. It was really good. And there's a part 2. So Pastor started this message last week and finished it up today. It was really good, really challenging for me. So we're going to get into that. So GinaMarie, read the passage for us, and then let's see what we can break down.
So he was in Mark 14:3, and it starts off, while he was in Bethany at the house of Simon the leper, as he was reclining at the table, a woman came with an alabaster jar of very expensive perfume of pure nard. She broke the jar and poured it on his head.
Okay, so one thing that Pastor started off talking about is how so often in life we kind of see, we kind of live our life doing the minimum we can do to be obedient. And that was the very first thing right out of the gate that was really challenging me. And it made me think of, and I don't remember who I heard say this originally, but how grace raises the bar. So under the law, they lived a certain way, they did a certain thing, they gave a certain amount. But when Jesus came, under grace, he actually raises the bar. So, if you walk with somebody 1 mile, take them to, all these things, the bar is raised. So challenging right out the gate, what the Lord was speaking to me. What's one thing that maybe jumped out to you?
Well, he talked about some of us bringing a scale to the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
We feel like if you just give enough, kind of what you're saying.
Yeah.
But so I thought about a verse in Proverbs 16:11. Honest balances and scales are the Lord's, and all the weights in the bags are his concern. So just that reminder that we just need to be obedient to what he's doing. I think sometimes when it comes to giving, when we're talking about giving, I think, oh, well, if I don't know where it's going,
Right.
or if I don't know exactly what they're going to do with it, and if God is urging us to give or
Yeah.
to serve or to do something, it's in that obedience that
Right.
he's honest.
Right. No,
He
you're
knows the
exactly
scales. He knows exactly what's happening. We don't have to try to figure it out so.
Okay, so there's well, let me say this and we'll say what I was about to say. So Pastor said this at one point, that your smallest obedience is greater than your biggest, best intention.
Yeah.
I know for me, man, I have great intentions, great aspirations. I live aspirationally, right? I'm a dreamer. So, but when it comes down to it, it's all about being obedient. And we can have the best dreams, the best intentions, the best things we even want to do for the Lord. And we need to come down to obedience. What is God calling you to do? And I'd love to know, GinaMarie, and I'm putting you on the spot here, but how do you discern? Discernment is like a big piece of this. How do you discern when the Lord's asking you to do something? Whether it's giving, whether it's serving, no matter what it is, how do we practice that discernment?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I think if something's popping up in your head that is something about giving or serving, it's like something that maybe is not natural to you.
Right, yeah.
I feel like and if you are walking with the Lord, you're spending time with him, you just kind of know when it's like, oh, this is a tug from the Lord. This is not just ooh, that'd be great if, because I have a lot of those. I'm a dreamer too. I would be like, oh, it'd be amazing. But those are ideas that are kind of in my head that I'm just kind of holding on.
Yes,
but that idea
exactly
that pops out that you're like, oh, and maybe it's something that you're not even really looking forward to doing.
Yeah.
Or it's something that's to the very core of you is I need to do that.
Yeah, like
so
a conviction.
I get a lot of gut feelings.
Yeah, I agree. I think what you said is right. The more time we spend with the Lord, the more time we're in his word, the closer we're walking with him. Kind of that discernment is almost like a natural overflow of that relationship with Jesus. Like the more we are becoming like Christ in our relationship with him, the more we see things the way he sees things. And I'll be honest, I was sitting in service and I just had the conviction of the Lord just hit me. Because I have a fail moment from this weekend. So somebody gave Jenny and I $40 to go on a date night. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. We can go on a date night. It was so sweet. It was awesome. We go on a date night. So we go out to Nashville this past weekend. And as we're walking into the restaurant, this homeless man approaches us. Just, man, he's hungry. He needs food and all this stuff. And And I gave him, I'm gonna be honest, I gave him the bare minimum I could. I gave him $2. I was like, oh yeah, I got $2. Here you go. Because I needed that $40 to go on date night. You know what I'm saying? So we go in the restaurant, we order our food, we eat our meal, and I go to pay, and they don't take cash. They're like, oh, we're cashless. Like, we don't take any cash, just card only. And it just hit me in service. I was like, you know what? I kept, like, I had an opportunity. I was even prompted to do it. I gave the bare minimum because I needed it. And then when it came down to it, I couldn't use it for myself anyways. And I'm not saying that you have to give every time somebody asks you something, but I was prompted and I didn't do it. So, and you may be thinking of a situation right now like, oh man, there's so many times I've messed up. So many times I could have given to somebody, I could have given to this, I could have served somebody and didn't. And for me, I have to take the situation this past weekend, just learn from it. Like, you know what? It's better to be obedient, and you never know what's on the other side of your obedience. So I'd rather just be obedient. And if we don't go on date, if we don't eat the nice place for date night, we eat somewhere else because we're obedient to what God called us to do, then so be it. Like it's a better experience anyways. So I failed. Don't be
really
like
good.
me.
That's really good.
Oh me. Anything else kind of jump out to you?
Well, the other thing that jumped out was when he talked about the immediate impact
That's good. Yeah.
and the eternal impact.
Right.
I'm going to be honest. I don't always feel like I'm always thinking about the eternal impact.
Right.
I'm more of the immediate impact. Like, okay, what is this going
Right.
to do? Or,
Yeah.
I'm thinking in the now.
Yeah.
And there's just this perspective that we need to be obedient because there are things happening in heaven
Right.
that we aren't aware of.
Yeah.
There's spiritual warfare that's happening
Yeah.
that we aren't aware of. So, I don't know, when we feel prompted to
Yeah.
give to that person, we just don't know what that's doing in
Yeah.
other realms.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Like as he said that, it made me think of this situation. It made me just think of my story. So there was a season where I ran from the Lord. Like I just running as far as I could away from Jesus. And I landed at the lake with a group of people on their boat. And we were just a leisure time. We're hanging out. We're having fun. But these people loved Jesus, and they were intentional in that moment on their boat. They were kind. They were gracious. They invited me to church, which I hadn't really been a part of for a season. And it changed my life. Like them just being intentional in that little moment changed the complete trajectory of my life. So talk about an eternal impact out of something that's just seemingly small. Seemed like a very small thing to be kind to somebody. Seems like a very small thing to invite somebody to church and just to be nice to them. But when you're intentional, wherever you go, you know, like it's not hard to be nice and kind and obedient. You know what I'm saying? So, but it had an eternal impact on my life. So it's just, you know, as I read this passage, I hear this story, it makes me think, man, there's no telling the impact we can have on eternity that we may never even know about. But it's okay because it's not about us.
We talked about Mary and Martha.
Right.
That kind of reminded me of like, are we busy doing all these things?
Which that's good. Like there may be a time God calls you to do something, right?
Yeah.
Or.
But are we? But it's the heart, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he kept bringing it down to. It was like, I mean, our recipe's going to be passed down.
Right. Yeah. Right.
In the South, and I come from an Italian home, so
yeah.
I feel like the answer is yes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, you know, what are the things that are going to last eternally instead of just in the now?
Yeah.
And Mary seized that now.
Yeah.
And was obedient.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. So to wrap up today, I'm going to kind of tie in a thought that Pastor had last week and just the theme of this week. But last week he was talking about how what seems insignificant to you, God may use for great significance. So I just want us to evaluate maybe this week what little, maybe seemingly insignificant things in our life do we need to surrender to the Lord? You're talking about things passing down. I'm thinking, do I want my boys to grow up and love my hobbies? Maybe. Yeah, that's not bad. Or do I want them to grow up and love Jesus? So what seemingly small, insignificant things can I do today that may have an eternal impact? And then I just want to challenge you to spend time in God's Word. I know it's not always easy, but the more you do it, the more fulfilled your life's going to be, and the more we're going to be sensitive to discerning these moments to be obedient.
That's true.
Yeah. All right. Well, GinaMarie, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks
Great
for having
hanging out with you on the
me.
breakdown.
It's always
and we'll
fun.
see you guys next week.